Hey everyone, welcome to Qualification Race 3. This time we're at West Coast at the cell tower delivery. So this track starts off with some pretty tight corners on gravel, which if you get the line wrong here, you can fall down at any point. And to prove that, I may refer you to the outtakes video from yesterday. Anyway, then you transition onto tarmac and you have one fairly tight 180 degree right-hander, short straight, and then 180 degree left-hander. You can take this one really tightly, but watch out for the rock. And then you can go flat out for a little bit. Cars with higher downforce are going to do very well here. Then you brake into a mid-speed right-hander followed by a tight left-hander onto what seems like a small portion of a highway or something. Long straight. Some cars are going to touch 200 kilometers an hour here before you brake through this right-hander, through the checkpoint, and then another mid-speed right-hander, a little bit tighter than the last one, into a mid-speed left-hander. And after this next braking zone, you go up onto gravel again towards the actual cell tower. Tight hairpin left. Some cars are going to have to take that in first gear. Other torqueier cars can do it in second. Then a long right-hander into another hairpin left. And then a short straight before you get a hairpin to the right. And there's the finish line. Now our first pairing is going to be the Rally Machine versus the FWM Armalite. Once again, the Armalite on sports tires. And pretty much immediately through this first hairpin here, you can already see how the Rally Machine can take a much neater line and accelerate out much sooner, whereas the Armalite is pretty much just sliding and unable to hold a tight line or accelerate out of the corner. As a result, the Rally Machine is already considerably ahead by the time both cars make it onto tarmac, but the Armalite is on sports tires, so it handles these corners on asphalt quite well. And I believe it's actually making up a little bit of ground right here. That being said, I did notice one problem with the Rally Machine on specifically this track, and it seems that BeamNG does have different grip levels on gravel versus on mud like we had last time. And so on gravel, the nose from the Rally Machine doesn't seem to be quite as pointy as it was on mud. So it's just a little bit harder to get the front end to turn in on gravel than it was last time on mud. And as a result, I did notice some understeer, especially in the slower speed corners with the Rally Machine. Hard to get it around these tighter corners up the cell tower. Nonetheless, it has a significant lead over the Armalite, and it will hold on to that up until the finish line. And it's going to finish with a 147, where the Armalite does a 154. On to our next pairing, the Scarab versus the Iris, and I'm not going to pretend that this is going to be a close matchup here like you've seen in the previous races. The Iris still has the same issues of understeer on turn in, power understeer on the way out, and as you can see, the Scarab is already miles ahead and it's just absolutely tearing up this track. So I want to talk a little bit about one of the upcoming cars, namely the Mara. I had to change my driving style a little bit because in some ways it did feel kind of similar to my own car in that it has a pretty pointy front end and it has a tendency to power oversteer on the way out, though it's more of everything, so more harder turn in and more power oversteer. And so I was just like, okay, it's just a little bit more fast and loose and has a little bit less grip than my car, and I was okay with that. But I learned that I have to drive that car with a little bit more precision, a little bit more finesse with my inputs, and then I can get a cleaner and faster time, so you will see that in the upcoming run. Back to this run, the Scarab has an enormous lead over the Iris already. It is absolutely just dancing around these tighter corners, powering up the hill effortlessly, while the Iris is still struggling to make it around these tighter corners. The Scarab has basically already finished, and it sets a new best time at 1:41.628, and that counts, by the way. While the Iris is only now making it through the final hairpin and finishing with a 1:55.4. On to the next head-to-head, the Mara versus the HFF, and both cars start very quickly. This is going to be a close race. The two major differences between these cars is going to be the tire compound and also the gearing. The HFF has longer gearing, and it is on hard tires compared to the all-terrain tires on the Mara. So far both cars pretty much neck and neck though through the first checkpoint. The Mara is maybe a little bit better through these tight corners on asphalt, but the HFF is still hanging on. Both cars still pretty much identical up until this point. Mara maybe slightly in the lead right now, coming onto this second checkpoint. Both cars very powerful, very quick on the straight, and then braking hard towards this right-hander. Virtually inseparable right now. I think if you were to go back, you would hear the noise from crossing the checkpoint like at exactly the same time, and HFF slightly ahead now, probably due to the slightly better grip on asphalt from the hard compound tires, as they both go back onto gravel. Very solid through these tight corners here, and HFF still looks to be slightly in the lead here. And then onto the final straight, if you will, and through the last hairpin, and looks like the HFF is going to win 1:43.9 versus 1:44.2. On to our next head-to-head, the Armament versus the Saishin. It's going to be interesting to see how the Armament does, because it did very well on Atoll on asphalt, but then not very well at Crandon on mud. But as we've established before, gravel does have a different level of grip than mud does, and so let's see how the Armament does here. For now the Saishin is in the lead, but now they're on to tarmac, where the medium compound tires from the Armament should be very good and should help it make up some time. And through this left-hander it does indeed look like the Armament has made up a little bit of time on tarmac, but the Saishin still holds the lead for now as they come towards the second checkpoint. The Saishin still has a lead. Both cars are accelerating hard here on the straight, but then the Saishin does have the advantage with its better brakes for that corner and also for this right-hander right here, so it will still remain ahead as the two cars head back onto gravel. And this is where the medium compound tires are going to struggle a little bit for the Armament, but it looks like it's keeping up much better here than it did at Crandon. Just like with the rally machine though, with the Saishin I noticed a little bit of understeer in the slower speeds here on gravel versus last time on mud. So there's the different grip levels coming into play once again. Still the Saishin wins with a 1:43.2. And last but not least we have the capable Racker versus the Minos Meteor. And so far the Minos has won this head-to-head every time, and I expect this to continue. However, the Minos itself also has its fair share of problems, especially with putting the power down, but for now it does look like it's keeping pace with the capable Racker, which has actually done fairly well at the start of this race. Now they head on to tarmac, and it feels like the Minos just has a little bit more grip on tarmac. For now the capable wrecker is keeping up, but Minos with better grip and better torque is going to out-accelerate the capable wrecker down the hill here, and it is going to make it to that second checkpoint first. And then down the long straight, Minos again with fantastic torque, gonna power down on that straight and increase its lead over the capable wrecker. Braking hard towards this right-hander, and then through the left-hander and back towards the last bit of the track, back onto gravel. And capable wrecker has lost a considerable amount of time on tarmac. So it looks like that's where the majority of the difference is between these two cars. Because on gravel, to be fair, the capable wrecker is actually not that bad, but it just loses time on asphalt because I think the suspension setup is overall too stiff, and Minos wins with a 145.5. Thanks for watching.